So this presentation is all about how you can use high-end visualization to optimize communication and help bring products to market more efficiently. So in this presentation, we're going to talk about how a viz strategy can improve communication internally, but also across the entire business, from the initial concept through to the end customer. I would also like to advise this presentation isn't necessarily aimed at the seasoned viz artists out there. This presentation is geared more towards those that are interested in viz but haven't yet taken the plunge, or those that have got a slight understanding of viz but would like to expand visualization within their business. The aim here is to explain the value of viz, explain the decreasing barriers to entry, and discuss how adopting a viz strategy can positively impact multiple departments within your business. So my name's Nick. I'm the Industrial Design and Viz Manager here at Symmetry, but I am fairly new, so most of you from the manufacturing or MFG space might not necessarily know me yet. So previously I'm an industrial designer. I now work as a subject matter expert at OEMs like JLR, McLaren, Bentley, Nissan, and most of the automotive companies within the UK. Over the last 10 years, I've focused on developing digital design strategies and design pipelines for these automotive companies, and also a lot of the industrial design consultancies that we work with. And I've taken a lot of that knowledge and used it within the manufacturing space as well. And I think it's really important to understand that visualization has become an increasingly important component when it comes to improving efficiencies at any of these businesses. So we've been successfully working with a number of companies like the ones that you see on screen across the entire spectrum of industrial design and visualization, from the initial concept through to sales and marketing, using tools like Alias, 3ds Max, Maya, VRED, Sketchbook. But we've partnered with these companies that you see here specifically in creating or improving the viz strategies. And it shouldn't be surprising that these companies are all instantly recognizable. It's not just because of the profile or heritage. I think it's because these companies place a huge value on optics, innovation, and customer perception. So regardless whether they're automotive companies, design consultancies, or engineering firms, the thing that they all have in common is a long-standing commitment to visualization, and they all appreciate the value of visualization for both internal and customer-facing exercises. For me, in an era of increasingly competitive markets, these companies all recognize the importance of viz when it comes to bringing a product to market. Be that in those conceptual stages, design reviews, marketing, reducing miscommunications in complicated, globally distributed design teams, or for some companies, even just implementing a more sustainable and efficient design and marketing process. So I quite often use to sum up visualization because it's nothing to do with image creation, nothing to do with animation, nothing to do with VR, is that visualization is the grease that facilitates frictionless communication. So as a bit of an agenda, we're going to just quickly kind of circle back to why we even do this. What's the background? What's driving viz? What's high-end viz? How do we achieve high-end viz? And finish off with some case studies. So first we have to talk about why did we even move from 2D to 3D? Because that essentially will always be the foundation of any viz strategy, is our 3D assets. And the reason we moved from 2D to 3D was so that we're able to more accurately simulate, create bills of materials, generate tooling, calculate mass and volume, reduce physical prototypes. In summary, we moved to 3D models so we could better understand our designs and make communication easier. This is the same story in manufacturing, AEC, construction, architecture, any industry where we move from 2D to 3D, it was to improve communication. But for me, if you're creating a 3D model, why go to all the effort of generating that asset if you're not going to leverage the full value of it? And this is where viz comes in. The companies that we work with that have adopted a viz strategy enable better and faster decision making, which facilitates quicker and more efficient routes to market. By deploying a viz strategy, these companies can extract that additional value from those 3D assets, and this can have a positive impact on the entire business. Communication is king. So in summary, we use visualization to enhance communication and to democratize the distribution of that information across a business. So it's a bit of a strange analogy that I'm going to use here, but essentially we say within our company to work smarter. But imagine an orange is your CAD data and the volume of juice is the value. By working smarter, we are essentially asking our customers to extract as much value from the CAD data as possible. So let's imagine we've got 3 different profiles of company. We've got the one on the left, happy with the value they can quite easily extract from their 3D models. We've got the ones in the middle who are using tools and technology like simulation, automation, PLM, PDM, and they're more efficiently extracting the value from their data. But what everyone really wants to be aiming for is to be on that right-hand side where you're extracting every single drop of value from that CAD data. And it's important to understand that visualization plays an important part in extracting the 3D asset's full value, but then to also accurately communicate it elsewhere. So essentially, visualization plays a critical role in unlocking the full potential of your CAD data. So what's changed and what's driving visualization? I appreciate I'm massively oversimplifying the process, but in an incredibly short period of time, things have changed massively. The number and complexity of designs have grown exponentially, but companies are expected to bring products to market quicker and more frequently than ever. The result is less time for prototypes, more decisions to be made, more sign-offs, and as a result, again, that's more opportunity for errors. So days have gone when the aim was to bring a product to market, design it, engineer it, manufacture it, market it. You could argue now you design them, you engineer them, you manufacture and market them. And increased competition also means that companies also want to be able to do all of this quicker and cheaper with each project or program. So in summary, these industry drivers are develop more product variations, more competition globally, we've got to satisfy more demanding customers, and you've got to be able to bring products to market quicker and cheaper. And to achieve this, the companies that we work with have been able to accelerate their design development exponentially by onboarding visualization, whether they're large or small companies. This is a great way to more efficiently virtually prototype. But as well as those industry drivers, there's also some cultural drivers as to why we think that visualization is going to continue to be increasingly important. So if you're bringing a product to market in 2020, you need to be able to draw attention to your product, first and foremost. Our customers are not just fighting against their traditional competitors within their industry for time and attention, but the distractions like social media, email, WhatsApp, Netflix have all changed consumer habits, and as a result, it's far more difficult to gain people's attention. Customers are more educated. They use the internet as a first point of research. So if your website or your first touch point isn't visually engaging, again, this is a potential opportunity for a customer to look elsewhere. And finally, individuals have far less brand loyalty than our parents did. So market leaders have to continually work to refresh marketing material and their messaging to stay relevant. And smaller companies and startups need to consider the way they present themselves as a brand just to look credible. So what is high-end visualization? So let's just set the scene a little bit. So for a lot of people, it's down to the quality of the image. And that could be what dictates what a good or a bad strategy is for some. But for us, it's slightly different. We talk about what is visualization and what is high-end visualization. So to me, visualization is anything that you generate to enhance communication and help others see or understand an idea. This could be a pencil sketch, a drawing sheet, it could be a render, something simple as that. Whereas high-end visualization takes things a step further. High-end visualization aims to provide the viewer with the confidence required for decision making. The viewer should feel like they're not just seeing something, but they're able to actually experience it. And for me, a high-end viz strategy is typically not the quality of the output, but it's a combination of output types. So images and animations are still vital in terms of components for a high-end viz strategy, but they provide what we call a fixed scenario asset. They're very difficult to update and they're not very flexible. So now we try to incorporate something called real-time into any viz strategy that we discuss. Now, unlike images and animations and renders, real-time visualization provides the viewer with an immersive experience and the freedom to go and explore and interact with the data however they see fit. A real-time viz asset can be deployed in traditional methods, but also in extended reality and any of the innovative spatial computing platforms that are revolutionizing the design studio at the minute. So just to kind of summarize that, so real-time viz asset is very important to understand. I'd like to kind of summarize it with a real-time viz asset is an interactive tool that allows you to communicate, investigate, and evaluate your data accurately enough to support critical decision making. And that support of critical decision making is the really important thing. And again, the difference between your typical traditional viz and a high-end, potentially even a high-end real-time viz asset is that these assets are not just a CAD rendering. A really good real-time asset makes the wisdom of all of the various departments involved in a project readily available. By deploying this strategy, our clients have been able to reduce miscommunications and stakeholders are more confident in decision making during the design phases of the process. So now that we've talked about what high-end viz is, let's look at an example of what steps could be taken to achieve it with a CAD model. So now here we've got a drawing sheet and a 3D file, which is perfectly fine within the design department, but maybe not enough for other departments to understand scale, size, and the nuances of the design. To elevate this to a high-end viz asset, it's all about replicating the conditions required for confident sign-off from multiple stakeholders from various different departments. So with a viz strategy, our clients should be able to simulate emotion, feel, and experience. And these are the things typically only achieved with physical prototypes normally. And how do you do this? If you add color, material, and lighting, you can invoke an emotional connection. If you add kinematics, environment, and human factors to the asset, you can simulate feel. And if you add operational conditions, extended reality, and potentially human-machine interfaces, you can almost experience a product. So here we have the exact same model from 2 slides ago with those added ingredients. And I think it's fair to say that if you were to present the CAD model, the drawing sheet, alongside this visualization asset, you've got a far more compelling presentation where more people would understand exactly what was being presented. I don't want to think of visualization as rendering or the kind of art of generating images. We want to think of visualization as a solution that adds real value to your kind of improved communication and efficiency across the entire business. A good real-time asset is something that shouldn't be siloed in design, engineering, or the drawing office. A good real-time asset can be moved throughout the entire business, and as a result, so does the knowledge embedded within it. So we see companies start to use things and use viz strategies in design or even in sales and marketing, but then we end up seeing that strategy expanded into HR, production, and even down to the suppliers. And it's only with that extra exposure to different departments you start understanding what things you need to add to the viz strategy to make sure everyone is gaining something from it. So we've talked about what high-end viz is. We just don't want to see ideas. We want to experience them. So we've talked about the statics. We've talked about drawings. We've talked about renderings. We've talked about simulations. And this is all information that's really valuable. But when you put it into the real-time asset, there's other ways to be able to present it. One way would be to do so in VR. So if we've got those 3D assets and we've got a viz strategy, this will allow us to start experiencing those designs. So here we're using Vyrid. Exact same tool that might be used for creating images can also be used for going into these VR experiences with a single click. I'll stick with VRED for the moment and continue on because I think it's important to see what else can be done. So same file again. We're getting better at replicating the conditions that we would normally have a physical prototype in. So the materials and being able to measure and mark up the same way we would do with a physical counterpart are really important. So we can record these sessions, record the measurements and the markups that are taking place, and then communicate that to various other teams within the ecosystem. But adopting this viz strategy to include VR allows companies to also reduce waste and the costs associated with physical prototypes. And there's so many hidden costs connected with these face-to-face stakeholder meetings, like shipping, storage, insurance, hotels, travel, meals. So it's really important just to understand VR is not like a gimmick. VR could potentially be a great way of including stakeholders that might be separated by thousands of miles to the same scene at the same time. And given the current economic and global situation, it's a great way to be able to connect teams and be able to continue working as normal. So in summary, a viz strategy is something that a company can use to accelerate design development, save money, but by reducing travel, shipping, material costs, the company can legitimately say that they've adopted a more eco-friendly and sustainable design process, which I think is really important. And I can conservatively say there's so many of the companies that we look after that are saving anywhere from tens of thousands to millions of pounds per project by employing a strategy like this. So let's just finish up with a couple of case studies on some companies that have adopted a viz strategy successfully. So we have Swift and we have IKEA. Swift being a company we've worked with for a number of years, for a long time, and IKEA a company that shouldn't be a stranger to anyone. So Swift, as I said, we've worked with them for a long time, and they're a great company who have really embraced this viz philosophy. And by embracing it, originally for general, rendering, image creation, they then moved to create more comprehensive design reviews, and the design team were able to more confidently investigate their concepts and really accelerate the way that they brought products to market. But after a kind of long period of bringing viz on board, they now have a really good mature pipeline where the same data set is used for design visualization. They've replaced traditional photography with digital photography for sales and marketing. The color and materials team do a significant amount of their work on digital platforms as opposed to the old physical methods that they had previously. They have a real-time design configurator that is within this viz strategy. And the beauty of being able to have all of this in one place is they can extract these VR sessions, which are really important for the type of product that they are creating. So Swift's viz strategy allows the design department to spot issues earlier. The engineering department can collaborate before prototypes are available. The marketing team can sell products using far cheaper in-house digital photography, and the sales team can secure orders from customers long before a vehicle's launch. And then if we move to IKEA, this is a company with one of the most complex sales and marketing processes in the world due to the logistics associated to the number of products that they have, and I guess the diversity of market that they sell into. I think it's a bit of a good story, just going through the backstory. So IKEA, I think, started off in 2006 by experimenting with one fully rendered chair in the catalogue, which was obviously well received because people continued to buy it and no one seemed to notice. But by 2017, 90% of the IKEA catalogue and online marketing was actually CGI. So IKEA instantly became this fantastic example of a company who leveraged all of the value from these 3D models, which they already had. But they didn't stop there. With all the benefits that they gained from understanding how much value they could get from these 3D models, I believe the catalogue is now over 95% CGI, and pretty much all customer-facing material is CGI, which is really impressive. But they went a step further and they embraced VR and other emerging technologies to better connect their 3D data to the market base. And as you can see here, you can go into the IKEA experience and spec up a kitchen, which is extremely valuable, and people get to understand a bit more about one of their products without actually ever stepping into one of their showrooms. Again, in the current climate, these are the sorts of things which are really valuable in terms of maintaining your market and maintaining a link to them and understanding what they're interested in. And finally, but I guess equally important in the current climate with a different type of customer, IKEA recognise that today's consumers really care about how things are made, and they understand that their customers want to know where a product was sourced and what the environmental impacts are. And as a result, IKEA have adopted something called the circular and climate positive policy, bit of a tongue twister, meaning that they aim to use only renewable materials by 2030. And I guess a lot of companies have got these sorts of ambitions and a lot of companies make these statements. But there's something that was definitely achieved by IKEA moving to this fully CGI marketing strategy. Because again, a bit like I mentioned earlier, IKEA have said they're looking to go for a more sustainable process, but by adopting this CGI marketing approach, they have massively reduced the shipping, logistics, construction, physical waste, and a massive reduction on physical prototypes as well. So IKEA aren't just saving money by embracing a robust viz strategy, they're actually building credibility by achieving their environmental goals earlier that they've set. And this is a real pull factor for IKEA's eco-conscious consumer. So I've spoken quite a lot about viz, what a viz strategy is and type of companies that have deployed it and how they've done it successfully. But I think what we need to get back to is don't try and think of whether you need viz or not. I think what you should consider is, does your company have a sales team? Do you have communication issues within your business? Are you marketing your product to someone? And what's the overall design strategy? And if any of these things are important, a viz strategy could go a long way to improve your business communication internally. It could be used to improve sales and marketing presence. It can be used to reduce costly physical prototypes, improve your presence at trade shows, and also stay competitive with your competitors in your given field. So visualization might mean static images, it might mean real time, it might mean VR, but critically, a viz strategy is all about improving communication anywhere a communication issue presents itself. Thank you.